John Paul II Justice and Peace Center. Yeah, many times we are told that we need to classify our documents for easy access. So I'm wondering, how do we do classification of documents in a computer?
Okay, all right. So the classification doesn't depend on whether it's on the computer or somewhere else. It's when you remember the Max, there's also the ordering principle. So you look at what type of document is this? Are you writing an annual report? Then the document category is a report. Is it a budget that you're creating? Then the document category is budgets, right? So it's usually the classification, if this is what you are meaning, is already in the type of document that you have. So you don't have to invent a classification, but you go by what you are seeing in the document, right? Another classification could be a meeting minute, that you keep meeting minutes, or it could be contact lists or contact details that you are keeping. I hope that is clear. Okay, they're saying they're not getting me clearly. Can we check again which microphone we are using? Okay, no, it's fine. Is everyone else getting me clearly? Yeah, okay.
Yes, I can hear you. Maybe Musisi meant hearing different voices.
Okay, that is strange. Maybe you can check that you are not in the same room with your devices, with users, so that you don't have that interference maybe. Okay, so I'm seeing a suggestion from Kathy that classification can be medical, education, social welfare. So yes, you can also think of categories of your work, so the areas that you are working in. So if you're working in social welfare and education, then that would be a classification that you can use. Or as Petra was saying, as we're working in different regions as Horizon, we also have one way of grouping documents according to the region where they are created or where they are used. So that's another way that you can classify the documents. So you look at where does the document come from, what is inside the document, and how you're using them to then decide your classification system. So there is not one system that you apply to all documents that we can say, this is what we use, now you use it too. You have to find your way of ordering. Okay, I think in the interest of time, maybe we go over to your part, Petra, and then we still have some time for more questions, so you can keep bringing in the questions and we shall handle them as we go along. So let's hand over. Petra, we will keep the PowerPoint on our side.
Thank you, perfect.
All right.
So we already start now the general question and answer part. This is the 4th time that we meet, and there were quite a lot of topics already raised, and in between the sessions, emails were reaching us asking for different tools or more information on topics, so we picked it up. And could you go on to the next slide? There was some interest in the knowledge transfer, knowledge loss risk assessment. So what is this whole topic of if people leave the organization, or how can you structure when people leave their knowledge and bring structure there? So we share with you the slides, but also as in handout format in Word, we will share with you a few templates that I have been using the last years and that we are currently further developing to get our standards and templates at Horizon 3000. The first one is the knowledge map. So we have said that there is so much knowledge that your colleagues, our colleagues, and you personally collect that when you do your job. So imagine you leave the project or the team or the organization, or you just go to another team and start working in another project team. There is a lot of knowledge how you did the job stored in you. So there is one method that is called knowledge map or job map, which is a structure that should help and guide the person leaving or the person changing position to writes down and structure the knowledge that he or she has been using. And that starts with what activities have you been doing, what was your responsibility, what knowledge information documents did you use for it, where do you find it, so also clear guidance of where is this found, at the server, at the personal drive, where is that information document that you were using. And then there is a part normally that comes to relationships, so which people did you work closely together to do that activity, do that job, or which internal, external persons are related to that activity. And then further comments, experience, recommendations, anything that is not written somewhere and stored in your server or in the cloud or wherever, but it's just in your brain. Taking note there, saying, if you start visiting this organization, don't forget you need to call the director beforehand to check the availability, otherwise it will be a catastrophe. These things, you know, this implicit, as we call that, the tacit know-how, there is space to write down the main recommendations on a specific category. So we can share that knowledge map. That is the first structure to guide people leaving and give them a structure to write down. There's a question concerning the job knowledge mapping, how often is this to be carried out? We at Horizon 3000, we are currently discussing the process of one and how we do it, but in our knowledge management team, during the last 5 to 7 years, we did that whenever a person was leaving a position, either leaving the organization or leaving the team to another team, then he was updating that knowledge management or the knowledge map or developing a knowledge map. So for the different positions in the knowledge management team, we already have the knowledge map and we're updating it whenever a person is leaving. So that is normally a step in the process when people leave the team or the organization, then you should do it. But it can also be depending on your needs that you say every 2 to 3 years we update it to make it easier to step in for another person, because it is a map. It is not the place where you write everything that you know and all the information, because then it is a book. It is a map guiding the person that will take over, the person that should do that job later on, to know where does she or he find it, what information is crucial, and it is helpful. I can tell you, yesterday I had experienced that because I took over the program coordination for the KNOW-HOW 3000 program. And I know that project for years, you know, but still, I had the feeling I was looking for something, and in my brain, I thought I will find it in that folder, but I didn't. So I went back to the knowledge map that my colleague Christina prepared for my handover. I checked in the knowledge map, so where is that piece found? Where is the storage for that activity? And it was there, and I clicked on it, it was a link, and I found it. So it is a map guiding you, where do you find it, what is necessary for your job. Next slide, please. And a second very important tool when it comes to transferring the knowledge from one colleague to the other, or from one person retiring to the new one, is once you have a clear structure of what this person has been doing, you need to organize how do you transfer the knowledge now to the new incoming or onboarding person. So the person that will start newly in the organization or that will take over that position, check that somebody needs to facilitate and coordinate that process. So make sure that you have a person in your team that coordinates that handing over and the transfer, and then writing down the activity on writing reports for that donor, for the EU or whatever. When will you transfer that knowledge and how will you do it? Will you do a transfer meeting physically? Will you do it online? Will you do it remote? Will you do it learning by doing, meaning that the person is already there and the other person still there and they can work together, etc. So there's different methods, but I can really recommend you handing over and transferring knowledge within an organization, either because people leave or others come in and change their position. A good facilitation is crucial, because that means there is some kind of safety. People feel there is a structure, somebody's taking care of the process and it's not neglected. I have seen so many organizations and people leaving where I would say it's a bit frustrating if you leave your team, if you leave the organization and you have so much knowledge and things, and you have the feeling and nobody's taking care of what I know, and there is nobody. Yes. So make sure that this is coordinated and facilitated, and I would like to stop talking on that transfer process here. I just want to tell you, if it happens that some of you or a bigger number of you have interest in learning and sharing on how we do knowledge transfer, onboarding and debriefing, we could think of elaborating and stepping into a community of practice, a learning community, so that we know this group is interested. We set up a space where we share the different templates and the learnings, because I am in charge now at Herout 3000 to discuss and re-establish the whole process. I do that for other organizations as well, so it would be a nice opportunity to have a topic to learn and share together. But that, if you're interested in diving deeper into onboarding, debriefing, knowledge transfer, staff leaving, and how to best save the knowledge, then write an email to Annika and myself, and we will discuss and see how we accommodate that need for sharing and learning on that topic. The next one, please. One method that like 3 or 4 people wrote an email to me is that knowledge loss risk assessment tool. So we have not shared a final version because that is nothing that Herout 3000 is using itself as an organization. I learned that in some trainings years ago, and I know that big organizations are using it. So we will share with you a few slides of how you could do that. But we don't have any clear guidance or experience ourselves. The knowledge loss risk assessment is basically an assessment and a tool that should guide you to analyze how high is the risk for certain people if they leave, if they get sick, if they retire, or if they have an accident and they are not coming to office tomorrow. How high is the risk of loss of knowledge that is having a repercussion on our business, on our project, on the programs? So it is guiding you, asking questions and analyzing the impact of a loss of knowledge if a person is leaving, having an accident, being sick, and checking how many people are there really with high risk of knowledge loss, and how high is the priority of loss, and then you see how many people do you have. But I need to say, I've never done this knowledge loss risk assessment myself. I have a colleague who is doing that, who is constantly doing that. So if you are interested in details there, I personally think it is more for big organizations where you don't have that feeling anyway of who is very relevant for different knowledge and position. However, I think that the idea to every now and then, as a management, as the director and the management of an organization, checking and analyzing who is actually, where is a lot of knowledge centralized in one person, and that could pose a risk to an organization if this person gets sick or has an accident or is just leaving from one day to the other. Yes. There are now questions. I'll just check.
Yes, can I say something in between? Joyce, yes. Can you please mute yourself, because it comes at times that we hear you. So just please mute yourself. And then now we can look into the questions. There was one, maybe still on documentation. Let me take that one up briefly. So it was about the cloud options. As I said, I'm not the expert to now tell you which option to take or which one not to take. For that, you really have to do a small survey yourself and see what's out there, and maybe get an IT expert to maybe guide you with it as well. Usually, the cloud comes with those subscription models. You would also want to look that it's not maybe a tiny organization, because then you might face the difficulty that maybe the business model doesn't last long, and then all your data are lost if they close shop. So going with the bigger ones like the Microsofts can have that advantage that they are huge corporations. They're not going to end business tomorrow, so your data will be relatively safe. but I can't advise you which one is now the best one. What I can tell you though, and what I've seen with partner organizations, what they now put into consideration, one partner for instance here in Uganda, is that they put the cost of this into their staff costs. So when they apply for new projects, they calculate, okay, this new staff, the staff does not only need a computer and maybe a desk to sit at, but they also need a subscription to these particular services. They need maybe an email address. So those are costs that you can include in that project proposal, or you can include in your general staff costs. So it's a matter of how you budget for it, and whether you think about those costs as you create your budgets for the staff. So it's something that maybe you can't change right now, but going forward, you can gradually keep including such costs in your budgets. Yes, there have been other questions, Petra.
Yes, I will start replying to them, and just remind me if I forget something. What does facilitation mean in the knowledge transfer plan for the whole process when a person decides to leave or is retiring? And there was one question, what do you do if people just leave without prior warning? Well, then it's very hard. That it's not that easy. Then you need to make sure as an organization beforehand to save a little bit of knowledge, but that is an extra topic. But given the situation that somebody is retiring or the contract is ending and you know that people will leave in a few months' time, facilitation means that the organization decides who is the person coordinating this whole process, from that person leaving the organization until the new person coming in, if a new person will come in. So that is not, it means clear responsibility. Petra is facilitating the leaving of this one colleague, Andrea, and another one coming in. And Petra will coordinate to make sure that the leaving person gets the knowledge map or some kind of structure to know how shall that person structure the knowledge he or she has, guiding the person to checking if the documentation is complete, if everything she has on her private storage still is merged, etc. So this person is in charge to check if the different things are done, and then facilitating also, if needed, the transfer session, meaning making sure that the two persons meet personally or virtually to discuss the different activities, asking questions to the leaving employee. What is your expectation? What is your strategic need? What do you think is very important to transfer to this new person? The same, having an interview, a meeting with the new person coming in, checking the expectation, the knowledge need, etc. So there is a guidance there, and if you're interested, let us know. And I think, as seen on the remarks here and the questions, it is a very hot topic for any organization. We are in extraordinary times with this virus, but any time is important to have a clear structure to make sure if people leave that you are facilitating a process and making sure you're not losing too much. So as I said, I think it is worth setting up some community of practice on that and sharing all the knowledge and templates. We can show the knowledge map again. However, I would say we will send you the templates anyway, and then you have it in Word file. And something that Peter van Erum said, yes, knowing is one thing and doing is the other. There is a big change management process behind for any knowledge management perspective, but specifically also when it comes to staff leaving and knowledge transfer. So it is true. Is there any success story from East Africa where there is a clear, sustainable progress in improving knowledge management? I could not answer you, Annika. I would leave that to you, because we have, I don't have the history of one organization really constantly checking where was the starting point and where are they now.
Yeah, maybe let me come back or let me also answer on that question. I must say, I also don't know what all our partner organizations here are doing. So personally, I'm also just in touch with a few, and there's some that I work together, particularly on the knowledge management, but it's more that we started the process. So it's for us now together with them to determine, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to then create it in a sustainable way? So we do have partners that are very interested in it. I mean, all of you here are interested in it. And so this can be, of course, now the starting of this process. But unfortunately, I don't know what all are doing. So that's just something that, yeah, we would need to also hear back from the partners, what's already happening, what's already going on. So in case some of you decide to do an assessment, please also share with us.
As Annika just said, as we start in now this year to setting up a self-assessment tool or a simple assessment tool, to have that as a basis, then it is easier also for organizations and for us to follow up after 5 years. Where did the journey go? But so far, no success story. I think we can skip that. And there's one question from Joyce, what does probability of leave mean? When you do knowledge loss risk assessment, you as the management, you ask yourself how probable or high is the risk that that person will leave. You know the colleagues and you know where the family status they are in, you know their ambitions. If you have a colleague that from the beginning tells you, my goal is I want to work at the United Nations office in Nairobi, you have a bit of a feeling, so how high is the risk and the probability that that person will leave? Well, it's quite high because once there is a good job offer, this person will leave, etc. So there is a few criteria that you're setting normally to analyze the risk of leaving staff and leaving staff that has a crucial knowledge for your organization.
To add on that, it's really the likelihood. How likely is someone to leave?
Yeah.
And, that's the probability there.
Annika, do I still have 2 minutes? Because there was one question from Martina, my colleague, that she was writing in the chat on the institutional versus individual learning. She said that was mentioned in the last sessions, but not so detailed. And if I could give one example of what that means or how that could be done.
Yes,
so, yeah. At Horizon 3000, we are constantly discussing as a team of how because our goal at KNOW-HOW 3000 and the projects we are working with our local partners, the goal is for institutional learning. So that institution, the organization is improving its services and the way it's working. Now, individual learning sometimes still happens because if there is some learning session, a training or this webinar, there is 1 or 2 persons participating and learning something. And now what does it mean to make it not only individual learning that maybe Peter is learning new things now, knowledge transfer, and it stays in Peter's head. Institutional learning means that there is some clear process, meaning once Peter goes back to Caritas Mother or whatever organization he's at the moment working, how will he transfer that knowledge that he has been learning, or the new knowledge, the new insights, the new methods and templates? How is the process that is reaching the organization and not staying in Peter's head? That is the basic, the background. And what we do normally, and a few things that you can imagine. First of all, the ones organizing the training should make sure that there is a clear action plan after the session, the learning. So we will also have a follow-up on these webinars asking you, now what did you learn, how will you share it, with whom will you share it, how do you implement it? So action plans for learning, and that there is templates we can share with you. But as an organization, having that discussion of what does staff development, trainings and capacity building mean for us, and how do we assure as an organization that the knowledge is transferred? And that is that is a management question also, because there needs to be a few regulations in place, meaning ideally, I can tell you, ideally is that the organization, the team, is checking which competences, which knowledge do we actually need. Then you decide as a team who will go and participate in the webinar, who will go and check at the university, or who will download a new manual on this method. And you decide of who needs to be informed on this topic as well. And you do the sharing, and then you check as a team once a year, do we have enough knowledge on the topic? Do we still need to develop ourselves, etc.? So this is there's this life cycle of staff training and knowledge gathering and sharing is part of institutional learning. That is, so far, I could talk an hour more on institutional learning versus individual learning. So whoever is very much interested in that one, we will see. We are always keen as Horizon 2000 and my knowledge management team and my colleagues specifically to improve ourselves and know how best we can facilitate institutional learning. So whoever is into that topic and interested and has some experience, I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
All right, thank you, Petra. Let's see, is there more questions that are coming in? Okay, I think there are very particular questions on
Yes. I think for a choice and all the others interested in this knowledge loss risk assessment, let's do a community of practice, a smaller group where we can discuss all the details. I think that would go too far now to discuss all details on that topic.
And I think maybe also when we share the document, there's more information in it, so maybe it also clarifies a few things.
Yeah.
All right, are there any general questions about the webinar itself, anything that has come up throughout that you would still like to bring up now? Then now is still the chance. We can have another 1 or 2 questions before we go into the reflection part that unfortunately due to all the issues today is a little bit shorter than we had hoped. But still, I think it's important to give the space for the questions because that's why you are here, you want to learn. So yeah, if there is another question, please do ask it so that we can see.
And the question asking is a very important part of the learning and the knowledge sharing because as you just saw with the knowledge transfer and debriefing, there is a lot of information, knowledge in my brain on that topic, a lot of experience I've collected, and I put parts of it on slides. I told you parts of it, I shared parts of it by asking questions. You're stimulating me, explaining even more and sharing more of my knowledge. So the asking questions is a very important part when it comes to sharing and accessing all the knowledge that is there. There is one question from Amina Ndiko. If I got you clear, do you mean that, for example, the organization wants to embark in knowledge management journey, Horizon 2000 can provide time-to-time support? I don't know which organization Amina is working with, but exactly what Annika is doing in East Africa as a technical advisor is on one hand organizing, implementing knowledge management activities for us and coordinating them, but also a few organizations she is consulting in knowledge management aspects. So Annika, would you like to answer that?
Yes, that's precisely one of the things that I am here doing. So I'm supporting, as a flying TA, I'm supporting different organizations. It then of course comes down to how much capacity do I have. So of course I have I'm just one person, so there is a limit, but still that's precisely it. So if you're interested, then from there we could see what kind of support is needed. Is it short-term support in terms of the Petra mission? Is it a longer-term support as an FTA mission? So it really depends on what kind of support you need, but yes, there is the possibility to have that support through TA.
Yes, and I would like to inform you and also invite you to be creative and think of that topic, knowledge management, whenever you are discussing with different donor organizations, whenever you are elaborating new projects. Of course, we have now the time availability of Annika, and if you're interested, write Annika and you will discuss what is needed. And still, if you have new projects coming up, if you're developing budgets for new initiatives and discussing with donors, don't forget the topic knowledge management. It helps you in your organizational development to have a few funds to do that and to properly do that. That's what we are doing as well. We are having a project financed by Austrian Development Agency and our member organizations. And this is how we can do knowledge management and offering that to you, the service, this webinar, developing templates and discussing and doing the work we do. So we set up a project. So be creative and discuss it with the regional office, but also with your other donors that you have. Where and how can we integrate knowledge management activities, aspects into projects that we get funding for?
Yes, exactly. I would also like to add that for instance, I didn't study knowledge management at university, so it's not I have a degree in it, but I started looking into it. I saw the job, I thought it's interesting. So I started learning about it myself, reading about it, seeing, discussing with Petra. So that's something that you can, of course, always do. You can look for information on it. You can ask us to maybe get a reference for something or get a document that you want to read and want to learn more about. And then you can, as Petra was suggesting, open even a community of practice, find a place to exchange and learn through that process as well. So you also feel encouraged to take it up on your own and then grow with it. So that's alongside, of course, the support that we can give, but that's always something, it will need that, that drive on your side anyway. So just feel free and don't be scared by maybe a big name that, oh, this is something that I need an expert. No, it's something that you yourself can start doing and learning as you're going along. Mm-hmm. All right, I think there just popped up a question. How significant is knowledge management in obtaining EU funding? Is there something available, or do you have to integrate it into a broader project?
Well, I would say that there is no real budget lines where it's specifically only knowledge management, because actually it's not, it doesn't make sense anyway to just do knowledge management by doing it. But what we as Horizon 3000 and also with different partner organizations do, and in Eastern Africa we have the example of Cruz Kenya, that in an EU project that they were elaborating, we also integrated knowledge management to have funding and to have the space to do it. And yes, that's the experience I have. At the EU, I don't know if there's budget lines specifically only for knowledge management. We have never applied for anything like that. We integrate it normally and see how, if the organization is interested and we know that and we see there is different donors and opportunities for funding, we then check of how and when can we integrate which part of knowledge management to a project to have the given funding. Shall there be a second phase of knowledge management in relation to what we are doing just now, like this webinar, what we're doing, or I don't understand the question 100%, I need to admit.
I would also understand the question as to whether it's a second webinar. And for now, that one is not planned. So this is really a first off to see
what we can say. What we can say, Annika, myself, and Wesley, we will do an after-action review and we will learn. We will integrate your recommendations as well. But what we realized already is that we will do video sessions on key topics of knowledge management, and not, recording this session is nice, but it's a very long one. So we will make sure in the next year, I think we'll have this video project to have the main topics of knowledge management, the main experience and recommendations recorded in short videos that are accessible to different people without the need to participate in a webinar, and then offering to different topics and aspects of knowledge management, learning communities, or follow-up webinars, discussion rounds. So I would say, yes, we will go on having learning and sharing on that topic because it's an important part. We will see, and please give us your feedback and recommendations on which topic is of most interest, also which structure and how you felt the webinar, so that we can improve and see how best offer that learning space.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. There was one comment that knowledge management will take a lot of time to implement. I mean, Petra, you have more experience in this. What I would say to it is that, yes, in the beginning, to set up all the processes, you need to invest time and you need to have staff come together, so you need time to set it up. But when once you're implementing it, it should not be an extra burden. It should not be something that is holding you back from doing your work. Instead, it should be something that makes your work more efficient. So yes, you will need time in the beginning, but then you shouldn't be doing knowledge management just for doing the knowledge management. But yeah.
Yes, I underline completely what you say. There needs to be a balance, of course. And first, you invest a little bit of time, but knowledge management should support your process. If you do project management programs in agriculture, it should help your colleagues, it should help you as organization to be faster sometimes, you know, more efficient, depending what is your goal. But in the long term, it should not be an extra burden. Then there is the focus and the objective is not clearly set if it is an extra burden. Yes. And you missed your last words, please. Yeah, that it should not be in the long term an extra burden or an additional load of work. It is, of course, investment of time, but it is in the long term. It should help, and there should be some indicators for where you check what knowledge management should do for your organization. But that was, we have already mentioned in the beginning, that this is the strategic part of knowledge management.
Yes, all right. I think we can maybe close the Q&A session here so that we still have some small time for a quick reflection round now, because I know you're all busy and I don't want to really take more time than I have promised, so that at least roughly around 12, maybe shortly after 12, we can also end the session. So what we wanted to do, Wesley, can you help me click to the next slide, please? What we wanted to do now is sort of a brief reflection session with you around 3 questions. So that also you help us to learn from what we have been doing. So first is, what did you learn in this online series? What is your takeaway message? And if you had to plan a webinar, what would you do differently? We are going to put you into breakout rooms again. So it's the feature that you have already noticed before. Please know that sometimes the management of these breakout rooms is a little bit tricky, especially if you get kicked out by your internet and you have to struggle to come back. So then send us a message. Remember which room you were in, or see which room you are in, and then you can let us know that I was in this room, and then we can put you back into that room in case you were kicked out. And as you are in the groups, please discuss on these 3 questions, share your views, your opinions on these 3 questions, and I will post in the chat now the link to what is called a low pad. Please open that link. It will bring you to sort of a document or a pad which you can see, I can see, and we can see each other what we are typing there. So if you type something, I can see it, Petra and Jena can see it, so everybody can see what you are typing. And I want to use this to share the reflection so that we are all seeing what the outputs of your group are, so that we have it in a place. And maybe you can assign one person in the group to write in the document, so that you still have the discussion flowing, but you have one person assigned to it. Other questions on this before we send you in the breakout rooms?
No, I just want, each group has group 1, has the space and this collaborative document to write down the answers, group 2. And if there is questions, then just, we will also hop from one group to the other to check if everything is clear.
Yes, exactly. So Wesley, can we start the process of putting everyone in the breakout rooms?
Just 15 by
just make 10 groups.
10 groups.
And of course, yes, you click on the link to open this notepad, and you will use the group that you are in the breakout room. So if you're in breakout room 3, you go to group 3, and you please write your names there. If possible, please also with your organization, so that we know who is in the group, and we know sort of where maybe questions have come up or where suggestions are coming from, so that we have a clearer idea. So we are now opening the rooms. If you see me, Annika, in your room, then this is because we have a separate computer. So I will not join if possible. Yeah. All right. So see you in about 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay, now we have to assign those 2 people again to the... Yes, so for those of you that are still in the meeting room, please go to your breakout room. You will have a prompt asking you to join. So do click that button to join, otherwise you will be staying in this room. Okay. I think you can mute me.
Hello, Annika?
Yeah, Martina?
I was in room 7 and I could not hear any of my other colleagues.
Okay, maybe.
They were not unmuted, so I'm not sure if they actually can unmute themselves if they have.
Yeah, maybe have you asked them to unmute themselves? Because that
Yes.
was the issue we had before.
Yes, several times I asked them.
Okay.
One dropped out and then.
Okay, maybe we can reassign you, but I don't see you under unassigned. That's strange.
Yes, Emma doing.
So maybe can we click on Martina so we can see if we can assign her to another room on the participants? More?
Yeah.
Yes. Can we see on more? That is strange. Okay.
That's okay. It's okay. I can also just keep reading the document.
Yeah, maybe you can check also on the low part still. So maybe your group has come to life, or at least you can still write in the group that you were in. So we have your perspective.
There's nothing going on. I don't think that they're able to talk to each other.
Okay.
That's okay. Take care of the other participants and I just follow the document. It's fine.
Right,
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Can you mute me again?
Hello, I was in breakout room 7.
So I see Emma here now from group 7. We've been in the same group, but we could not talk to each other.
Yeah, I have a problem with the machine microphone, so I've changed to my phone.
Oh.
Yeah.
So maybe, Annika, you could assign us back into the room 7?
Yes, Martina, we are trying to see how we can reassign you. So I can see Emma. I don't know, I can't see you, so we're trying to fix this. In the meantime, maybe the ones that are stuck in this room, please maybe just start talking in this room, since we are struggling to see.
It was just okay. Like everything was well explained, well planned. Actually, what I would do, I would try and plan as much as they planned and do something similar to what they did. Yes,
Yeah,
I felt it was very okay.
Hello, you requested our assistance. Do you still need it?
No, we are happy.
Okay, then that's fine. Then keep up the discussions and we'll leave you alone.
Thank you, Annika.
All right, take care. Let's go to the...
Yeah, I agree with you because with such a high number of participants, it's really a challenge to follow everyone.
Yes.
So I feel this was, the setting was really nice.
Take them through to ensure that they are getting all the information that they need to have for them to work in that office or in that position. And also when they are leaving, that you need to kind of harvest the information that they have, because most end up leaving with a lot of information with them. That's one of the things that I got.
So you mean that is crucial to avoid the knowledge loss that Annika was talking about, right?
Yeah, it's crucial, and also it opened my eyes to, instead of just doing things locally, like a staff is here, they just need to know this. You have a more structured way of training them in the job, and also how to pick the information before they leave. And also this one for today, the documentation and how to put up the documentation structures is also very key for me. We were actually, from the organization is Rescue Data Center, we were actually thinking about how we can start a cloud storage. It's not a very big organization. So we were thinking of starting a cloud storage, and I think there are some things I've learned, like how you need to label the documents, who can access what, that the document levels need to be up to 3 clicks. That is, you don't pack so many folders, one inside the other. So that was also a key learning for me, considering that we are about to start on that one.
Do you already think about a specific system?
Yeah, we are doing Google Drive. That's the one that we'll use. We're also using Dropbox for our database, but now we prefer to use Google Drive. Yeah,
we have very good experience. I was working with a partner organization in Nicaragua in Central America, and it worked really good. There's even, I don't know if you knew that, I posted the link in the chat. There's a possibility for NGOs to get free access to not have to pay for it. So especially for small, you can scroll up in the chat. I posted it in the very beginning. You have to sign up and then get in touch with one of the assistants, but I think it's like several of the organizations I know already did it.
Okay,
so
that's using which platform?
G Drive, Google Drive.
Okay, all right.
Since you mentioned it, I thought you might be interested in a version for free.
Yeah, it will come in handy. We really need it. I think we have a lot of information, and currently we cannot afford a server as an organization. So Google Drive is the second best option.
Yeah, for me, these 4 sessions were a very good introduction, since I'm joining the knowledge management team here in Horizont in Vienna. So to not take up too much time of my colleague Petra, she assigned me to participate in the seminar. The last 3 sessions I could only listen to the recordings. That was already very good, but being part of a live session and being able to exchange now with you, for example, is very different and actually much nicer. And so so for me it was a good overview. I'm more clear now on what we are actually doing in this field as an organization, and I will try different tools. For example, also the knowledge map and the knowledge transfer plan. I will use that the next coming months, because I'm handing over one work package to a colleague, and I want to try it because I think it's very useful, as Petra said, and you don't have to go back and ask every little detail, because you find a lot of information already there and have an overview how to do the new job you have to do. And so so the second question was the takeaway message. Do you have any takeaway message that you would like to share?
Let me think about it. There are so many. I just want to see which one is the biggest highlight. I would say the takeaway message for me is the capacity assessment tool. Because I think in my mind I was thinking about a very complex to feel kind of thing, or how to assess or all that, but I think it was very simplified from the way I found it. Although I've not used it, I would like to use it, but I think that's the highlight for me. I think that's what I would say I got, or I came out with from that one, and I look forward to using it to see how well or how easy, because already in my understanding of it, I didn't see it being complex but I'll appreciate to use it and see actually how easy it is now to apply it. Yeah, that's the capacity assessment tool.
Yeah. Would you think that's like something that is necessary to do in the beginning to actually know what you would like to work on to improve the knowledge management in your organization? Because I understand it's like a basic thing, right? Like in the beginning.
Yeah, it's a basic thing. We have a TA who was planning to do a training on knowledge management this December. So we're in the initial stages of doing knowledge management in our organization. So I think having now that tool, it will form like a better background of where do we start exactly, who knows what, who needs what do we have in place, what do we need to have, which is the most important, or what can we prioritize and all that. So I think it was also a takeaway for me, because considering the place we are in the organization that we are about to start knowledge management, I think it came in handy. At least we know where to start. Because we were just thinking about starting the training, and then we don't know who and who should be in that training and what should we tell them, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What is my takeaway message?
Yeah.
My takeaway message is maybe that it's a really interesting topic, that it's very important to for me, it was always a very blurry thing, you know, like very, okay, this is important, but how does it actually work? And so it's way clearer now for me, and I'm kind of, I got a lot of appetite to to keep working on it. Also personally, like my private filing structure is a mess. My private computer, you know, it's like I just dump everything there, and then I kind of find stuff back in my chaos, but it could be time saving also to get a little more organized. And in an organization, it's very, very crucial. Is there anything you would like to do different if you were to plan a webinar like this? Is there any suggestion what could be improved from your part?
Okay, for me, I want to put up a point that I don't think it's an improvement, first of all, to this one, but I'll mention it anyway. I wish that the documents that they're sending and the videos can have a longer, they don't expire in such a short while, or I don't know what we can do after they expired. I have one which expired before I downloaded, but actually that's now not in the planning, because they send and it tells you when it will expire. So I think that's about me organizing myself to download faster. So that's just a by the way. For the workshop, okay, for me, I think considering that we are doing it on Zoom, it was okay. There was participation. They gave us chance to participate. Now, maybe now for the internet, which was letting them down, which I think it's a challenge that was not expected. Everyone can have that. I don't have any complaint for the workshop. Yeah.
Okay. Well, from my side, I can say it was very good that it got recorded. I know this takes up a lot of space in the system, and I don't know how much sense it makes to store it for a long time. But like seeing it and being able to participate, even though during the moment where it actually happened, I wasn't available, was really good for me, because I could catch up in the evenings, listen to it on the train, and then now I had the possibility to really be with you guys for this session. So I really liked that possibility, and I'm very grateful for that.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for.
Is there anything else you'd say they improve on your side?
Improving, really, I think for like a first try, it's very good. I mean, Zoom and all these online tools are very challenging, because we can't really interact on a personal level. But on the other hand, now we're like talking since 10 minutes, and I think everybody's listening, by the way. And I really feel the connection to you. So I think it's as good as it gets in these times, and I'm happy that these tools are available. And I think they did a good job. Also the combination of Annika and Petra.
They did well.
Yeah, So it was a good overview, good introduction.
Yeah, I would also give them a thumbs up. I think they did really well, even organizing the training with all those people and very few hitches. And I think the training was very well organized.
Yeah, and so many participants. That's great. I'm happy that there's so much response. All right, Emma, was nice.
I'm muting because there's some background noise, but I think we're also done. Thank you. Bye.
You too.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, hello?
Hello.
I think people are gradually joining us back in the main room. So welcome back to the main session. I think we are now getting, is everyone back? Let's see, how many do we have back in our room?
Let me go back. Let me go back.
We are back, Charles.
Okay, yes. Okay, welcome back everyone. I hope everybody has found their way back to the main room. So yeah, unfortunately, we are almost past time, but if you can allow, I would still like to take like 5 to 10 minutes to round up the session and to just like that.
Chris, similar here.
Please mute yourself, or Wesley, if you can.
That's on me.
All right. So I can see from the low pad that there have been quite some exchanges going on. I know some struggled with the technicalities, and actually we struggled as well because we had people that we didn't find a way to reassign them to their groups. So sorry for that experience. But nevertheless, it was nice to see and to sort of tune in. We had some discussion also going on in the main room, so that at least we could use the time. I'd like to give a bit of what I'm seeing here, and maybe Petra, you can still also join in. I know you've also been in one of the groups. To just give an overview of sort of what has been discussed. And one thing that the things that I'm seeing that you mentioned in the lessons learned is, for one, your mind has been open to new possibilities. There are new things that you have learned about. There are new tools that you have gotten. There's a new focus on documenting, how you document, on where you can store things. Also, you really appreciated this idea of investing in the knowledge transfer, investing time, investing and staff, and working together as a team to create the knowledge management. You've also mentioned the onboarding and the exit strategy as something that you have learned through this webinar, that's something that you can look at, as well as the knowledge map, like noting down what what knowledge is there in your organization, what knowledge staff have. Then you also mentioned this interaction with losing knowledge, so really getting aware that losing knowledge can have severe repercussions for your organizations, and then of course the tools of how to avoid it and also how to capture the challenges. Let me see, there are some comments coming in also in the group. And yes, we'll come to that. I think there's some comments there. As for the key takeaways, you've mentioned that you've realized sort of the processes are very important, and recording the knowledge, making the good documentation is important. And then it's also important to share the knowledge with others, not just to have it for yourself or within your organization, but to share it more widely. And also to define what are the roles and responsibilities in your organization, who is in charge of the data management, who are the target groups, who are the audiences. And one participant was bringing back this statement of knowledge is power. And I think with knowledge management, you acknowledge that fact that knowledge is power, but it can also be empowering. And so I'm very happy to see that these lessons of what you have learned from the webinar, that you have gotten a first idea, what does it mean? You've gotten some inspiration of where can I look, what can I do, what tools are there. So I'm very happy about that. And we, Petra and I think I can speak for us there, would be very happy to learn back if you're using any of these tools. How are they working for you? What maybe doesn't work? And also the results, if you're willing to share the results of your past key assessment, so that also we can keep in touch and know where you are standing, what part of the journey you are at, what progress you are making. Just as we had the question in the group before, that who's progressing how in East Africa, so that we do get an idea of what is really going on with our partners, with you. So I'm happy to see these lessons learned. Petra, is there something that you would like to add? Is there something that you would like to point out?
Yes. First of all, of course, I'm sorry that I was not coming to all the groups there, but I got stuck in the very nice group number 1. But there was one remark in the chat that, of course, it's a pity that you could not exchange in the group works and get in touch with Annika or myself to go a bit deeper. But as I said, if a topic is of interest of you, you want to learn and continue learning, then let us know, because Annika and myself, we will be checking how to facilitate the learning on the topic further in Eastern Africa. And I would like to add 2 takeaways that we were discussing, or that arose in group number 1. First, knowledge management is not a one-woman or a one-man show. It is teamwork and everyone is involved. That's a very key takeaway. And thanks, Patricia from Rescue Data Center, and also my other 2 from YARD and Cultural Research Center. We all agree it is a teamwork. It involves everyone in your organization, and there was quite some enthusiasm and motivation already at the group's participants to start. And the second takeaway that is from my side is we have now a very, very big community of interested people in knowledge management. I mean, we have been up to 100 persons involved in that training. So you can be sure you are not alone if you're struggling with something or if you have questions. You know there is a big knowledge management family interest community there, and we will check and see how we will share the context information, the participants list, etc. And I personally had the picture when we were closing our discussion now, the soil is prepared, you know, from the agricultural part, we have prepared a good soil now with this webinar for knowledge management to grow, and we can all harvest in the future quite some very nice fruits, I am sure. And we, Annika and myself, or Annika and Wesley primarily, they will send out follow-up questionnaire, a few questions to the participants. So we would really invite you to answer that, to send it back to us, for us to get a feeling of how receptive was the topics that we had and the structure. There were quite some recommendations already on what you would do differently. And also to follow up from our side of which templates, which ideas, which insights are actually really growing in your organizations and are used. And then I think together we will learn and continue to to set up a structure to exchange and deepen our learnings.
Yes, exactly. This is sort of, this can be a first step, so you can see it as one thing that we have now sort of tried to kick off. And of course it was, as Petra mentioned, there was a huge interest, and we said, no, let's take everyone in, which of course then makes the participatory element a little bit more difficult and reduces the one-on-one time that you can have with me or with Petra. But exactly, if you have another topic, if you want to go into something deeper, then get in touch with us, and maybe we find out there's several people who are actually really looking into the same thing, and then we can use that that crowd knowledge as well, and we can work together on things. Because I've mentioned this throughout, and I know it can be sometimes frustrating if you're looking for a solution and someone tells you, well, that depends, and well, it depends on your organization, because it's not something so tangible. It's not like, do this or take this tool and you're done. But through such interactions with others, maybe you can still find out what would that mean and how would we do this. And I'm very happy to be part of these groups and to bring in my pieces of knowledge, my pieces of ideas and opinions. And I think it can be a very great place, and maybe make it also clearer how can we manage this transfer. Because in a lot of trainings you get knowledge, but then the question remains, but how do I bring this back to my organization? And then that's where sometimes the difficulties set in. So don't let that one hold you back now. We have this community here, you have our contacts, so do get in touch and let us know. And as Petra mentioned, I'm going to do a follow-up survey, because I'm really interested in what are your comments, and also what was your experience, what were you maybe struggling with on your side, because I've seen, yes, network issues. Today we have seen the issues we're struggling here with, power cuts, network, whatever. And of course, there's only so many things you can plan for, and then another thing happens. So I'm sure you've also struggled on your side. And so I'm very happy. I think we've already learned a lot doing these sessions to know, okay, this is what we have to do, and that is what we have to do. And I'm very thankful that all of you were part of this journey, and I'm very happy to learn even more of what suggestions you have. One thing I can already say is the download of the documents. We're using WeTransfer because they are so huge. I cannot share them via email. But I've noticed that some, they clicked on the link too late and then it was not available anymore. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to upload all the recordings again. So just give me a little bit of time, because our internet is also not the fastest, but all of the recordings shall be available. And I will also let you know for how long. Unfortunately, since we don't pay for that service, there is that time limitation that I can't change, but I'll let you know for how long. And then please go and download when it's ready again. So I think that's all for now.
Now, I would like to step in and say that everyone in this room will now unmute and clap the hands for Annika and Wesley, because they were doing such a great job by organizing this huge, and it's really huge, I mean, 50 to 100 people in webinars, you know, not being forced to participate, but you are there because you're interested. This is something we need to celebrate. So please clap the hands to Annika and Wesley for this great job.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I'm very happy, and I was happy to see that so many of you were interested in this and were willing to also participate through all the technical issues that we had, that you had, and that you still came back. And so I'm very happy, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from all of you, to hearing how you're doing this, how you're progressing, where maybe you encounter challenges. So please get in touch. So yes, thank you Petra also. So I think we should also give Petra a round of applause, because Petra has been here, she's been answering our questions and she's been providing her insights. So thank you also, Petra. And yes, of course, thank you, Wesley. Wesley, maybe you want to come to the camera one more time so that everybody can also still see you one more time.
Yes, come be on the scene.
Yes, hi everyone.
Wesley, what is your main takeaway, Wesley?
Sorry?
What is your main takeaway, your personal takeaway?
yeah, I really learned a lot of things, you know. I couldn't mention it here. It's really so fantastic for me, you know. Yeah, thanks for everything.
Good.
Okay.
I think no more to say. We are looking forward to the videos again, and we will find a solution to have the topics on video all the time in the next year. We will have a video project ourselves at the knowledge management team to make sure that the main topics and the findings are regularly available to anybody in English in future. Okay.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. I wish you a great day. And yeah, as I said, we're really looking forward to seeing how you take this forward. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Stay healthy and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you much. Thank you. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow. Bye.